everybody, my name is Shannon and I am still waiting for my Satyr, and today we are talking about Tales of Light and Life, a YA anthology from the High Republic. I am so glad that I got this book early in the mail. The second I saw it, I just immediately wanted to start it. When they announced they were doing an anthology that was specifically YA focused, I immediately got so excited because a lot of these authors have written YA before and it is so good, and then a lot of them haven't, and I was really excited to see what they were going to do with these characters. And overall, I go into anthologies knowing that not every story is going to be good, not every story I'm going to like, but this anthology is as close to perfect as it could possibly be. I want to give it an A+, but there's still a couple of times where I'm like, I could have done without that. So I'm giving it an A-, but it is so close to absolute perfection. So Tales of Light and Life features 9 stories from each of our High Republic authors. So all the way, it starts with Zoraida Cordova, it goes all the way to Lydia Kang. We have our original 5 from the first wave as well. And what I loved about this is that they are stories from all across our 2 phases so far. So phase 1 was, the present. We went back in time with phase 2. And also what I liked is that they are in pretty much chronological order. So we start at the very beginning with a story before the events of phase 2. So a little bit before all that is happening. And we end with stories that are handing off into phase 3, which was very cool to see. Of course, I have to mention my favorites, and I think this will come as a surprise to nobody that my 2 favorites were one by Tessa Gratton and the other one by Justina Ireland, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that my 2 favorite characters were the main characters of those stories, but I just think that they did such a beautiful job detailing the end of phase 2 and then also the end of phase 1 and what kind of headspace our characters are in moving forward. It was very, very cool to see. I especially love Tessa's. I do think that Tessa Gratton's is my favorite one out of the whole book, which did surprise me because I thought it would be Justina Ireland's, but hers is a very close second. I will also say that I really liked Cavan Scott's story, but it took me a minute to like it, which that did surprise me. I was expecting to really like Cavan Scott's story, but it's told from a perspective of a character we've never met before, so it took me a minute to get into it, but by the end of it, I really enjoyed it. That is something that I think this book does really well and sets it up so good for success. You are already familiar with these characters, and since you're familiar with them, with anthologies, I know for me, it always takes me a minute to just ground myself in the beginnings of stories, and anthologies are nothing but a bunch of beginnings. So already knowing these characters helped me just kind of fall back into the story. It felt like we were just getting another chapter from these other books and their other stories. So that really helped me. But there are 2 stories towards the end that are told from characters we have never ever met before. Those are probably my least favorite ones just because I'm not as familiar with those characters. But like I said, in the case of Cavan Scott, I really did come to enjoy it because of what it represents moving forward into phase 3. Honestly, I really hope we get more stories like this. They were just so unbelievably well done. And I think another reason why it works so well is that it was YA. So we were completely character focused here. We were not looking at big picture, what's going on now that we've had, the war end on Eiram and Irono. What are we looking at with the Path of the Open Hand, with the Nile? What's going on in the political scheme of things with the fall of Starlight Beacon? Those things are in the background, but these are just about the characters. So we are just looking at Axel Greylark, Marta Rowe, Vernestra. We are just looking at how their lives have been affected or how their lives will be affected and moving forward into these new phases. I feel like the only one that doesn't really do that is Daniel Jose Older's, but his is so lighthearted and fun, and it just lends really nicely to the High Republic adventure comics that I can't really fault it for that, and it's placed very well within the lineup that it still flows very nicely. Overall, like I said, this book is as close to a 10 out of 10 as it could possibly be, but with an anthology, there's always just gonna be those little nitpicky things, and like I said, it just had to do with certain characterizations or things that I wish that they could have done differently, but overall, the writing was absolutely outstanding. It actually made me really excited to read Charles Soule again. It made me excited for maybe getting more Lydia Kang and like things like that. So going into phase 3, I feel very prepared, and I also feel very intrigued after learning some of the things in this book. The good news is that it doesn't spoil anything. You can read this without having read phase 2, and you just won't know who the characters are. You won't know about some of the things that you're mentioning. The only thing that it spoils for phase 1 is the very end. So knowing that Starlight Beacon falls, you learn about some of the characters who died and things like that. But there is a note at the beginning that specifically tells you like this book can be read at any time. Like this can be read as your entry point to the High Republic. It can be read after you've only read a handful of things. It doesn't matter. And the great news is it doesn't spoil anything for phase 3. Like I have some ideas, I have some inklings about where we're going, but all it's done is like pique my interest, which I think is perfect for this kind of initiative because there is so much to read. This is like, okay, I loved this character, I'm gonna go read that book. And they just did it so well. So this book comes out on September 5th, and when it comes out, I'm telling you, you guys need to run and pick this book up. It was so unbelievably well done, and I'm so excited to see what they have in store for us for phase 3. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, be sure to hit the like button down below, and don't forget to subscribe to Talk Books with me every week. That's everything I got for today, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.